Thanks very much. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about the brass tacks of this one particular issue, this one particular charity, Mizrahi Organization of Canada. And what I'm going to tell you, interestingly enough, is not new, especially to the Liberal government of Canada. Fronted by complaints issued by Just Peace advocates, among other groups, the minister and the CRA has known about this issue since at least 2022. So we're not dealing with a context of months, we're dealing with a context of years of inaction. First and foremost, let me explain how Mizrahi Organization of Canada works to finance these settlements and other egregious so-called Israeli charities in Israel. There's a website called jgive.com, which is legally registered to an organization called the Asor Fund. jgive.com offers something of a clearinghouse. Consider or imagine a GoFundMe campaign if it was a multitude of these, and they're all Israeli charities. So it runs the gamuts from synagogues in need of a new roof, yeshivas, etc. Some of these certainly are based in Israel proper. Many of these are also based within the occupied territories and actually are registered charities in Israel, which are operating illegally in the settlements, and others operate directly towards Palestinian erasure and displacement. When you click on one of these charities as a Canadian to donate, you are given the option to donate in Canadian funds. And what you are also given the option to do is receive a charitable tax receipt from Mizrahi Canada. And so Mizrahi right here is operating in contravention of Section 168(1)(f) of the Income Tax Act. It's operating as a direct conduit, as a directed giving context for charities over which it has no direction or control. The second red flag that should have appeared is that between 2007 and 2021, in its Schedule 2 overseas activity, under which Canadian charities are required to list their international intermediaries, Mizrahi Canada moved $46 million plus into Israel and listed properly donations received by name and dollar amount for under $600,000 of that. So 44 point something million dollars simply was earmarked as going to Israel without a name and recipient attached to it. Red flag number 2. In 2022, Mizrahi of Canada changes it up and actually files its Schedule 2 overseas activity properly. It lists just shy of 300 Israeli charitable recipients, and it's here where you can begin to dig into exactly where this money is going. You have 28 recipients within the settlements in contravention of Canadian public policy, which you can find openly and publicly on the Global Affairs website. And the CRA is very clear in a summary policy statement that Canadian charities must not act in contravention of Canadian public policy, even if it's not listed as something illegal under Canadian law. Red flag number, where am I, 3 or 4 here at this point? If we move basically away from the limited context of the Income Tax Act and the apparently inability or perhaps complicity of the CRA and Minister Bibeau to act on this, what we find is there's a direct contravention here of international law. The Geneva Conventions, the Rome Statutes, and the Hague Convention, of which Canada is a signatory, does not acknowledge these, acknowledges the Israeli settlements as a war crime. We also have a Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act within Canada, which we should consider within the context, as Corey was mentioning, of charities such as Im Tirtzu, which are directly self-congratulating themselves for turning away aid trucks to Gaza, and for whom Mizrahi Organization of Canada issued a charitable tax receipt in 2022. This is not only egregious, it besmirches the entire Canadian charitable sector, which lives and dies upon its reputation, and upwards of 10% of people in Canada are employed by the NGO sector. So what we're dealing with here is a mountain of red flags, not only under the limited context of the Income Tax Act, but we're putting Canada in a state, as a state, where we potentially find ourselves open to other national interventions within the ICJ, and we see Mizrahi Organization of Canada as potentially within the criminal code open to proceedings under the Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act. The call is long overdue for this charity to be investigated fully, for this charity to feel the letter of the law of the Income Tax Act, and for the entire Canada to Israel charitable sector, which is worth upwards of $278 million per year on average between 2018 and 2022, to be deeply investigated, because this is not the only instance, and this is simply the most egregious. Again, I'll reiterate, the CRA and the minister have known about this for years. This is nothing new. It shouldn't take us the context of a genocide. It shouldn't take us the context of 40,000 Palestinians dead in Gaza to wake up to this urgent issue. Thank you very much.